Sanjana,
Hey Pallab, good evening.
good evening. So, on behalf of whole Cult SSB team, students, and core admin team, I welcome you on board for the guest talks season 13.0. And so here we have students who are enrolled with us, and more importantly, I would like to tell a few points about Sanjana before we actually start our talks and discussion. So Sanjana got recommended from Allahabad and Bhopal previously for Army and Navy. Thereafter, she also joined OTA. Previously, she was working with a company in Delhi, Bain and Company, and thereafter she switched. Right now, she is living in Mumbai, and parallelly, if we come to the background, her father is working. His father is a captain in Indian Navy. Apart from that, most important tagline which I would like to say that she is the first female recommended candidate from Cult SSB. So previously we had none, but she was the first, and thereafter we got multiple female recommended candidates coming up. She joined Cult SSB in the month of September 2022. Got recommended first in around January, I guess January, right, Sanjana? If I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
the first was December and another one was February. Yeah,
December
February.
and February. And yeah, she has got very good amount of experience of SSB as well as about academy as well. So she will be with us for some discussion today. Along with that, you all guys are requested and advised to have your doubts at the end of the session so that बहुत सारे चीज़ें हम ऑलरेडी डिस्कस करेंगे एंड संजना इज़ अ वेरी फ्रेंडली पर्सन and she's one of the finest person I've ever met from female side, coming up, delivering talks and helping candidates. So welcome, Sanjana.
Thank you so much, Pallab, for such a warm welcome. And really excited to be back here with Cult, where I started my journey. And, you know, needless to say, it has been the reason I have ever succeeded, I've ever had any success in SSB. So, very, very happy to be back with you all.
Thank you, Sanjana. It was a warm gesture from your side too. So Sanjana, not wasting much of your time and the students' time, we also discussed a lot of things आपके आने से पहले.
Okay.
We were discussing some topics regarding SSB and all, so that थोड़ा skill drill program रहे, है ना? So Sanjana, while we were discussing few things, and we have got good, like we have got female candidates as well. So before we start, एक लाइन मैं पूछना चाहूंगा कि आपके लाइफ में एक चीज आई होगी ना कि हाँ लड़कियां क्यों ट्राई कर रही है एसएसबी के लिए, ठीक है? सो व्हाट वाज योर रीजन फॉर इट, बिकॉज देर आर मेनी गर्ल्स वो थिंक कि भाई क्यों करना फौज, जनरली क्वेश्चन रहता है.
Yeah. So my motivation stems from the fact that I come from the background. Personally, my grandfather was serving in the army, and my father is serving now in the navy. And so it was always, having seen the life, I always enjoyed it, and I wanted to have more of it. And personally speaking, none of my brothers in my family, none of my cousins also have. Been able to have any success in this field, and so I think that was greater motivation कि भाई नहीं कर पाया तो अब बहन करेगी. So those kinds of things, and in general walks of life also, so far in my corporate experience also, I can tell you that when you choose to do something that is slightly different from the crowd, you are met with a lot of accolades, you're met with a lot of appreciation at every step of the way. Complete strangers will sometimes come and tell you कि वाह लड़कियां बहुत अच्छी लगती हैं जब when they choose professions like this. तो इस वजह से आई थिंक दैट वाज माय मोटिवेशन.
Okay, that sounds really sweet and great. So Sanjana, now when you started your preparation, तो basic hurdles and वो hurdles कैसे grow करें आपके लिए, क्योंकि you are a corporate, I would say, person. So
Yeah.
generally students को भी वही challenges आते हैं और corporate को भी similar challenges आते हैं. So how did
Mhm.
you overcome those hurdles?
So I think hurdles, Pallab, were of various kinds. I am somebody who has not, had success in SSB in my very first attempt. Just for the information of the audience, my very first SSB was in AFSB. That was in Gandhinagar, and I was conferenced out from there. So the challenges that I faced in my personal journey was to regain that confidence first of all. कि यार एक बार failure experience कर लिया है, and now like can I succeed? Do I have it in me? That was one, and another one was of course as I transitioned from my college into my work life. The task of having to balance a full-time job along with preparation was challenging. The task of being able to accumulate some leaves long enough कि भाई 5-5 दिन जाना है, इस चीज़ में इन्वेस्टेड रहना, अपने फैमिली से ना मिल पाना, ट्रिप्स ना ले पाना, मज़े ना कर पाना, वो सारी चीज़ें साइड रख के प्रिपरेशन करना और एसएसबी जाना, दैट वाज़ अ चैलेंज फॉर मी।
Okay, great. So, for the benefit of all, so I would tell that Sanjana completed her BTech from Delhi Technological University. She completed her 12th from Navy Student School, which is similar to APS and Air Force School. Thereafter, she joined a firm in Delhi only. So Sanjana, telling about the audience as well. So we have got candidates from different entries, starting from NDA, 10 plus 2, TS, and we have got AFCAT entry as well, NCC special entry,
Right,
then CDS Navy as well. So it's a mix and match candidate today.
right.
Yeah. So संजना टेकिंग फॉरवर्ड, सो यार अभी जब आपने चलो हर्डल्स भी कवर कर लिया, तो आप एक बात बताओ कि अभी चलो आपने फिर एग्जैक्टली एसएसबी की ग्राउंड तैयारी कैसे करी? लाइक सिंस यू गॉट कॉन्फ्रेंस आउट, सो पहला तो है ना बैकलॉग लगे गया, बैकलॉग आई वुड
हाँ,
से हर्डल चैलेंज,
हाँ
सो
जी।
आपने उसको कैसे ओवरकम किया एंड व्हाट आर थिंग्स यू इंट्रोस्पेक्टेड ऑन योरसेल्फ?
Okay, so one thing was the first attempt that I gave in which I was conferenced out was in December of 2021, and the second attempt that I gave was in December of 2022. So between the two attempts, I took a gap of complete 1 year where I kept applying for SSBs and I kept getting calls for SSBs, but I never went. Um, that was primarily because I was working corporate professional, छुट्टी नहीं थी, काम करना था corporate में भी, and those kinds of things. And I just felt that I was not prepared enough, and I didn't want to go with half-hearted and half-baked preparation. And so I decided कि ठीक है attempts अगर जा रहे हैं तो उसमें कोई problem नहीं है, पर अगर मैं एक attempt को अब थोड़ी सी अच्छी preparation के साथ ना दूँ उसमें problem है, because then it shows on your PIQ form the a number of attempts that you have had. So quality over quantity was one. And second, I think as when I joined Cult in September 2022, that was the time when I seriously, absolutely began my preparation. The first thing was that I identified with my personal mentor, Neha and Pallab, I personally identified the SSB which I really wanted to go for. I was targeting AFSP, but I distinctly remember I had a discussion with Neha, and she was the one who advised me which SSB to go for first. It's not like you can't go for SSBs, but prioritize. That's one. Second, I established a very good daily routine wherein I was able to work during the day and take out some preparation for my psych assessments, for writing my TAT stories, SRTs, VATs at night. And also on weekends, I would, since Cult offers you the option of, taking your trainings or your sessions with the mentors as and when you like, I use that to my benefit. And I scheduled sessions, three, 4 long, hour long sessions with you all, with Pallab, with Neha, etc., and other mentors, Akash, only on weekends because that was the time I had. Another thing was that whenever I would discuss a problem with my mentors at Cult, I always made it a point to go back and revise those things that had been taught to me and use my own brain to brainstorm and note down things, so that I have a strong set of notes prepared. One thing that everybody will tell you at Cult, and one thing that greatly helped me with Cult, is that Cult strives to banish the myth that SSB is an impromptu gig. It is not. SSB ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है जो वहाँ जाके ही परफॉर्म करना है और वहाँ पे ही कुछ आप बहुत अच्छा करोगे, तीर मारोगे, वैसा कुछ नहीं है. It is important that you realize that SSB is something that you prepare for well in advance, and Cult helps you to do that. And I did that from September until December. I was 100% invested in my preparation with my mentors, and that showed results in my SSB in December. So, good routine is paramount, I would say, and consistent communication with your mentors.
Great, great, great है ना, rightly said, and we were just discussing that point only regarding interview कि भाई पूरा सच सच नहीं बोलना है, थोड़ा थोड़ा है ना,
हाँ जी,
मसाला मिर्ची भी
exactly,
डालना पड़ता है.
exactly.
That is one of the best point. And Sanjana, you mentioned regarding Akash. So for those who don't know who is Akash, he is a triple recommended candidate. Now he is about to pass out. शायद कुछ दिन के बाद पास आउट होने वाला है from IMA. He got All India rank one for TGC and previously got recommended for FCAT and yeah, twice for FCAT. Despite getting medical rejection from RMB and AMB, he still stood firm. Got again recommended, got Air one. So again, those all mentors were there long back. ठीक है, अभी भी है काफी अच्छे अच्छे. So संजना was a part and parcel for that time कि वहाँ पे भी वैसे एडमिन्स मिले. और द बेस्ट पार्ट इज कि स्टूडेंट के साथ साथ एडमिन्स भी एकेडमी जा रहे हैं, है ना, तो साथ में कोर्स मैच भी मिल रहा है आपको साथ साथ. दैट इज वन ऑफ द एडवांटेजेस पोजीशन, है ना संजना.
Yeah, absolutely.
सो
It's
या
amazing to see your mentors transition from your teachers to actual people who you will meet at academy, and then they look out for you. It's an amazing feeling.
Exactly. Sanjana, taking forward, now let's talk regarding more specific aspect. कि now when you prepared for your psych,
Yeah.
particularly फीमेल का psych थोड़ा अलग होता है ना,
हाँ जी.
interesting analogy, क्योंकि ये शायद आपको नेहा ने काफी अच्छे से बताया था.
Yeah.
एंड साथ साथ you got a grilling experience कि psych आपकी थोड़ी अलग थी as compared you previously joined with us and
Yeah.
after you were with us. So what exactly you worked on your psych domain, which includes TIAD, WAD, SRT, and SD?
Okay. So to be honest, psych was my weakest point, and that was the reason of my rejection from my first SSB. When I joined Cult, I communicated this very clearly to Neha that I will need a lot of help with psych, and she overhauled my psych. So starting with TAT, she encouraged me to think about all the things, all the activities, all the participation that I had ever done in my life, starting from, let's say, my sixth or seventh standard onwards, up until my corporate life. It can include debates or swimming competitions, anything. A good combination of volunteering experience, your job experience, your education, your extracurricular activities, everything. उन सबको brainstorm करके लिखो and then make stories on those topics, because it will be much easier for you to recollect these stories when you're actually giving the exam, because they are instances of your own life. The important thing is that when you do this exercise, all of y'all who are enrolled with Cult, your mentors will help you understand which topic is one that you should maybe not write a story about. For instance, I remember I had written a story about a project that I had done in school about a women cab service, and Neha striked out that topic because she told me that you don't want to bring special attention that women need cab services. You want to portray equality between men and women, so you have to make a list on your own, and then your mentors will help you filter out good and bad from that. For that, again, Neha gave me a very exhaustive set of words for what, and then I would write down for each word as many sentences as I could think of, and then she would help me understand which was a good sentence and which was a bad sentence. So this was the homework that I did, and then your mentors are always there to help you understand कौन सा लिखना है और कौन सा नहीं लिखना है, because like Pallab said, you don't have to portray everything. They're very selective stuff. For SRT, again, Neha helped me categorize SRTs into various buckets. Now SRTs can be related to your professional life, in your professional settings with your colleagues. It can be related to your family life. It can be related to your friends. It can be related to anything that is like any ad hoc stuff, like maybe you are in a jungle or some fire has taken place or something like that. It can just be something which is very women specific, that there's a woman, and she's got her period, or there's a woman, and she is a victim of domestic violence. These kinds of very women specific topics. So she told me buckets about these SRTs, and then I on my first in the first iteration, I first wrote down all my natural responses to SRTs, and then I sat with my mentors, and then they helped me understand that no, this is not a right response to this SRT. Why? I understood the reason, and then I went back and I rewrote the responses to all those SRTs, and then I realized what can be a good response to a particular situation. For instance, I'll just quote a very quick example here. When the first a time I faced this question which said that you are lost in a jungle and your phone battery has died down. And my natural response to that was that okay, I walked and I reached the nearest police station. I informed the police about my parents' contact details, and then they called my parents up and all. And so then Neha made me realize, and my other mentors made me realize that this is incorrect, because if you're planning to serve something like the armed forces, then you don't want parents involvement and this person's involvement, and you don't want any police help and all. You are by yourself able to to handle the situation. So the correct response that she gave me was that no, you will write that she planned a map of the area, charted her route, and reached her destination. That's it. If girls or boys are troubling you, then you will give a stern warning to the boys and reach your destination. As opposed to, my natural response to this situation was, called the police for help and collected bypassers, etc. So that was my psychology शुरू में कि मैं तो लोगों को help के लिए बुलाऊंगी, because that's who I am as a person. बट नेहा रेक्टिफाइड दोज रिस्पॉन्सेज एंड सेड कि नहीं, हमें हेल्प की ज़रूरत नहीं है, हम खुद इतने सक्षम हैं कि हम कर सकते हैं ये सब. तो यू जस्ट गिव अ स्टर्न वार्निंग टू द बॉयज एंड जस्ट गेट ओवर विद इट. दैट्स इट. This change in my response, and resultantly a change in my thinking, actually was brought about by cult ssb. So ye tha. For sd also, Neha gave me a 3:2 ratio of strengths and weaknesses. For every three strengths, bring out two weaknesses. And then she also helped me further understand what can be a good weakness to write. Maybe we don't want to write big weaknesses that I procrastinate, or I have a flaring temper. Small weaknesses that I want to improve my posture, or I want to reduce my screen time, these kinds of things. So very gradually, with every weekly session, every daily session that I have with cult, this change in thinking was brought about. And now I'm at a stage where, now that I think of writing responses, this has become my natural response, which was not the case earlier. So I really want to highlight to the audience that अभी आपको ऐसी एक्सरसाइजेस दी जाएँगी, और अगर आप अपना होमवर्क अच्छे से करते हैं, और अगर आप अपने मेंटोर्स को वापस आके बोलते हैं कि मैंने ये करा है, मेरे को बताओ कि क्या सही है, क्या गलत है, this exercise will really help you shift your mindset altogether, and that's what is required.
राइटली पॉइंटेड संजना. रियली ग्रेट है ना. इवन आज काफी स्टूडेंट्स को रिलेट कर पा रहे होंगे कि जैसे आपने कहा कि पुलिस की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, बट जबरदस्ती पुलिस को लेकर आना. सो दैट इज अगेन अ माइंडसेट
Mm.
दैट यू नीड unnecessary help, because again, Sanjana, I hope you also know that war-like mentality which we always insist.
Exactly, exactly. And that is especially true for female candidates, also for male candidates, but definitely true for female candidates.
Exactly, you know. And since you also performed really well in a board where hardly people gets recommended, ठीक है, आप you stood all India rank 2 as well. That have given you advantageous position कि भाई आपने काफी अलग तरीके से चीजों को समझा, rather than people, you know, lot of female candidates just prepare and they still make it, but you were, you know, in the top notch section. Great. So Sanjana, now you pointed that some kind of bucket list were there, you know, for some TADs, SRTs.
Yeah.
Can you once more elaborate कि काफी लोग को है ना वो चीज थोड़ा relate कर पाए, and they can also practice on their own. क्या क्या bucket list बना सकते हैं?
Okay, so for TAT, I'll divide this answer into two parts. One is for TAT and another is for SRT, because that is where I bucketed things. For TAT, I think I made a bucket of very initial formative years of mine, let's say from 7th to 10th standard. मैंने क्या क्या काम करे. Some of them included that I took part in a debate competition, or I organized the annual day, or small things that we do as children. Then the next bucket was for maybe from my 11th standard to my college years, and those consisted of slightly more mature things that I did. Maybe I became the coordinator or the monitor of my college of the computer science department. What I also did was took part in an inter college Delhi police English debate competition. I took part in a technical fest. I taught children as part of raw track. So it was like, if you can see, it's a good. I also took part in I'm sorry, I also went for a caving expedition or a mountaineering expedition. So you have to realize that it has to be a good blend of technical, it has to be a good blend of sports, extracurriculars, etc. And then the last bucket that I made was exclusively for my corporate experience, or somebody who may be engaged in higher studies. कि अच्छा corporate experience में I gave trainings to new interns, or there was a case with the USA geography, so I helped them produce some analysis, and all that technical stuff comes there. So that is how it was a good blend. I further categorized this into other वेज. जैसे ये तो हो गया कि मैंने इंडिविजुअली काम क्या किया. दूसरा, आपको टैट में ये भी दिखाना है कि आप सोशल सेटिंग्स में बहुत अच्छे हो. तो समथिंग रिलेटेड टू योर फैमिली, लाइक आई प्लान्ड अ सरप्राइज फॉर माय मदर on her birthday, or I planned a anniversary surprise for my parents on their wedding anniversary. These kinds of things. और या फिर कोई मेरी फ्रेंड थी जो बॉम्बे न्यू जॉब करने आ रही थी, एंड बॉम्बे में मैं भी रहती हूँ, इसलिए मैंने उसको अपने घर में रखा, बॉम्बे घुमाया. ये सारी चीज़ें जिससे पता चले कि आप एक सोशल पर्सन हो. और तीसरा हो सकता है कि अपने ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स की हेल्प करना, रिस्पेक्ट करना. ऑल्सो समथिंग रिलेटेड टू प्रोफेशनल सेटिंग्स, कि भाई एक वर्कर है, एक को वर्कर है जिसको अर्जेंटली लीव लेनी पड़ी, तो आपने उसका काम संभाला. दैट शोज रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. So these kinds of buckets I categorized it into. And for SRT also, I categorized it, as I said, into situations, different situations. One can be family situations. For girls this can be कि घर पे pressure है शादी करने का, घर पे घर वाले काम नहीं करने दे रहे, or there is some strife with your in-laws, or there's some strife with or there's some dowry demand that is happening. These kinds of family situations. Second will be professional situations, कि आपको बुखार है, आप ऑफिस नहीं जा सकते, या फिर आपके बॉस ने आपको प्रमोशन नहीं दिया है और किसी और को प्रमोशन दे दिया है. दीज काइंड्स ऑफ प्रोफेशनल सेटिंग्स. या फिर क्या कहते हैं, अचानक से बहुत सारा काम आ गया है और आपके फादर की तबीयत खराब हो गई है. दैट क्लासिक दिस थिंग दैट यू आर सपोज टू रिपोर्ट एट योर यूनिट, बट योर फादर्स गॉट अ हार्ट अटैक और समथिंग लाइक दैट. Those kinds of professional situations. Then some normal situations wherein you're with your friends, कि there's this girl who doesn't share things with you and she's your roommate, she fights with you. These kinds of things. And then ad hoc miscellaneous would be कि आग लग गई है, आप सर्कस में गए थे, आग लग गई, या कोई सांप घुस आया, there's some snake bite has happened, or you are leaving. What else can be? um, Ad hoc situation would be that you see there's a person who's bleeding on the side of the road, some kind of injury or some calamity has happened. So those kinds of things. So ऐसे 4-5 मैंने बकेट बनाई. हर बकेट में क्या क्या सिचुएशन हो सकती है वो मैंने नेट से भी ढूंढा, मुझे मेरे मेंटोर्स ने भी हेल्प करी, मैंने खुद भी सोचा, एंड उसके मैंने रिस्पॉन्सेज लिखे.
Right. Rightly pointed here, Sanjana, like how you went to, to greater depth, covering all the
Yeah.
aspects, which is also known as subaltern approach. ठीक है, काफी मतलब अलग तरीके से आपने गए एंड यू कवर्ड इन अ डेप्थ मैनर. दैट इज द बेस्ट पार्ट. एंड फॉर दोज आउट हियर, आप लोग अगर मेहनत करने से डर रहे हो तो सी, है ना, संजना डिड रियली ग्रेट. अभी जाके हुआ है. एंड द बेस्ट पार्ट इज आपको खींचना पड़ेगा, है ना. देर इज नो इजी वे टू गेट इन टू दिस थिंग. ठीक है. एंड जैसे इन्होंने एक और चीज कही, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आपने इतना प्रैक्टिस कर लिया कि वही नेचुरल सेल्फ बन गया, है ना. सो बिफोर शी केम, सो वी आर डिस्कसिंग डिस्कसिंग कि रियल होना है या वो. तो उन्होंने शायद काफी ब्यूटीफुली आंसर भी कर लिया होगा इस चीज को, कि हाँ, आप इतने अच्छे से प्रैक्टिस करो कि वही नेचुरल बन जाए. और क्योंकि फौज ऑल्सो डिमांड द सेम काइंड ऑफ मेंटालिटी, कि भी आपको अंदर आने का भी बहुत सारी चीजें ऐसे करनी है जहाँ पे आपका जो बेसिक, आपका जो पर्सपेक्टिव होगा वो इसी को लेकर ही होगा कि हाँ, मुझे ऐसे ही रहना है. Moving forward, Sanjana, now since you covered about psych, you have a good English, no doubt.
Yeah.
Now, so how you prepared for your interview in general? Like, since we insist that CIQs पढ़ना है, what was the relevance of preparing CIQs? Secondly, आपने situation questions को कैसे handle किया? If you can recollect some question from your interview, which you would like to highlight. So please share about your interview aspect.
Right. So for the CIQs, what Neha helped me with the do's and don'ts. So because everybody's life is different, there can be no set answer for any CIQ that we can give you. Or that you can also take from the internet. But what you do have at your disposal, and what my mentors at Cult also helped me with, was very exhaustive list of CIQs that they had faced, and some resources that they found on the internet, and those were shared with me. And once I had those questions, then मैंने एक एक करके उसका आंसर लिखा. And believe me, I have to tell the audience, like Pallab said, there's no way to cut corners in this. You have to sit and write answers to all 60, 100, 120 questions. तभी होगा। उसमें से बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस हैं जिनमें आपको मेंटोर्स की हेल्प की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, व्हिच पर्टेन टू मे बी योर एजुकेशनल एक्सपीरियंस, एनी एक्टिविटीज़ दैट यू हैव डन, you know what has been your academic background so far, what is your family background, इन सब में आपको mentors की help नहीं चाहिए, ये बहुत direct answers हैं. But where cult helped me immensely was again the part where they tell you what to filter out, what not to tell. For instance, very classic questions will be thrown at everybody about your strengths, your weaknesses, and they'll be often disguised as questions ki what does your friend think is the best thing about you, or what does your friend think is the worst thing in them. All these kinds of questions. जहाँ पे भी strengths और weaknesses आ गई, वहाँ पे I think cult was immensely like instrumental in telling me what to do and what not to do and how to put things. तो वो लिखना, it's important that you realize that you will have to write answers to all 100 and questions, whatever they are, and then seek help from any mentor at cult to understand what not to say and what to say, and even with what to say, how to convey it. So this is one important, and another one was situational questions. Today, I would like to share some questions from my army board. It was, and army board is tricky in the sense that especially Allahabad board has several army boards going on concurrently, and some of the boards like 19 SSB या ये जो SSBs थे, these people were being asked about questions related to proper technical questions. How does maybe a motor work, how does an engine work, and these kinds of things. Or but 34 SSB, where I was recommended from, they were asking questions about general stuff. The question that since I belong from Gurgaon, Haryana, and I've stayed in Delhi, the question that was thrown at me was that Delhi is the seat of both the legislature as well as the executive, that's the center. So why do you think Delhi, being a union territory, has why do you think Delhi, being a union territory, has a chief minister of itself, whereas if you see all the other union territories have a governor? तो दिल्ली में सीएम क्यों अलग से है? And I honestly had no clue to the answer of this question, but from my basic understanding, I said ki because sir, Delhi is the seat of both the legislature as well as the Supreme Court, the central government. Maybe they need extra attention to not just handle the duties of the government, but also cater to the needs of the people. That's why for extra attention they want a CM who has dedicated responsibilities. Another question that was thrown at me was, why is Chandigarh the capital of both Haryana and Punjab, and what is the historical conflict that is related to it? ये था, and I think a third question. Then further questions were all related with the kind of corps that I was wanting to join. So for if I would have gone in the army, then I was asked ki what corps do you want to join. I said the Corps of Intelligence, and so other things were circled around what is intelligence, what are the different types of intelligence, what are the tools with which you measure intelligence? Have you come across any tools in your corporate experience with which you might measure intelligence or collect intelligence, and what can be the hurdles around it? These kinds of questions were all thrown at me. The Navy board did not have, so the Navy board, their questions circled only around my personal life and nothing to do with situational aspects, so I will not be able to share any questions from there. But yes, these questions are all there, so you will have to be a little, I think, just keep updating yourself with newspapers and other videos. That should help.
Right. Rightly said, Sanjana, about your interview part. That how you prepared 120, 200 n number of questions, फिर उसमें से filter out करें. Because there is one well saying that if you prepare 1,000 questions, hardly 100 or 50 questions will be asked, but the remaining 20 or 30 questions, whatever may be the new questions, will be well framed by the remaining preparation of your thousands questions. मतलब ऐसा है कि जो बचा कुचा क्वेश्चंस है वो आपको यहाँ पे कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डअप में हेल्प करता है ना
Right.
संजय?
Right.
So now since you covered your interview with a much comprehensive way, so now last but not the least, how you went to GTO, and since you were as a repeat, you went as a repeater first time, then you went to Naval Board as a recommended. So what all challenges you faced in GTO, starting from your GD, GP? How did you work on it on the ground reality? Which asset tips particularly for GTO which will help both boys and girls out here?
Right. So for GTO, I'd like to really begin with one sentence that I remember Akash had told me. He was my mentor for GTO at Cult, and he told me कि SSB is like a 5 day time bomb, and एक बार आप घुस जाओ तो the only thing that you have to be mindful, excuse me, the only thing you have to be mindful of is कि वहाँ पे फटना नहीं है. अगर फट गए तो खत्म खेल, and that is especially true for GTO. A few things that will hold everybody in good stead for GTO is, of course, having a good command over your language, and having a good command over your GK, current affairs, etc. But it is equally important to understand that it is not a test of your knowledge. It is a test of how you're performing in a behavior. I remember my mentors at Cult reinforced this thing in my brain again and again, that your individual performance in GTO is less important as the collective performance of the group. So, one of the things that I always kept in mind was that even if I'm putting across a point, it has to be like, you don't have to be brash, you don't have to be rude, you have to give others a chance. If your own chance is not, if you're not being given a chance, just be patient. The GTO is noticing all of that. Don't have to hurry, and you don't have to fight there. Be very graceful, offer others a chance. In fact, same thing applies to PGT mein it doesn't, of course, if the GTO at all times, you have to be the person who has to be inside of the obstacle and be actively performing there. But I distinctly remember Akash had told me, and I have, like, I can personally verify this experience, that agar if you don't get the chance to be inside of the obstacle, there are ample ways to show that you are, involving yourself by being on the fringes somewhere. तो अगर आप ऑब्स्टिकल को ऊपर से देखो, नीचे से देखो, साइड से देखो, चिल्ला के अपना आइडिया बता दो, किसी को बोलो कि यार मैं तुमसे प्लेसेस एक्सचेंज कर लेता हूँ क्या, तो अगर वो आपको देते हैं चांस, तो जाके अपना आइडिया लगाओ. एट द सेम टाइम अगर आपको कोई बोले कि यार क्या मैं आ सकता हूँ, तो अनहेजिटेटिंगली आप उनको चांस दो, बिकॉज ग्रुप आगे जाना चाहिए. आप आगे जाओगे उसका कोई फायदा नहीं बनेगा. These kinds of things. For So these things are about GD, and same things will apply to your GPE also. Your solution is not important. The only thing important is that you give logical explanations, you guide the group towards a general good direction, you offer others a chance and ask for chances also, but not in a way that is, that is rude. बाकी GTO के कान आँख, उसकी 4 आँखें हैं, मेरे को आकाश ने ऐसा बोला था, उसकी 4 आँखें हैं, वो हर जगह देख रहा है, ठीक है? उसकी नज़र हर कोई पे है. तो जस्ट बी अ वार्म पर्सन, जेन्युइनली have the interests of the group as the foremost thing. पीजीटी में भी यही है. आप ऑब्स्टिकल को आगे पीछे ऊपर नीचे हर जगह से देखो, बी इन्वॉल्व, लोड कहाँ है, बी कॉग्निजेंट ऑफ दैट, ग्रुप को आगे बढ़ाओ. अगर किसी को हाथ चाहिए उसको हाथ दो. अगर स्माइल स्माइल एंड जस्ट मेक इट फेल्ट एज दो यू आर जेन्युइनली एंजॉइंग योर सेल्फ देयर. लेक्चरेट में आप कॉन्फिडेंस से बोलो. टॉपिक अगर ईजी चूज करो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली फाइन. In HGT also, I think if you're chosen in HGT, it is important that HGT में आप थोड़ा extra push करके perform करिए. अगर आपने PGT में थोड़ा आप कम दिखाया है खुद को, HGT में make it a point that you are heard and seen and felt. These things will hold you in good stead in GTO.
Great, great. My memories were, giving a nostalgic vibe कि हाँ क्या क्या चीजें करते हैं हम.
True.
So, Sanjana, now since you particularly mentioned regarding the whole aspect of GTO, so few points which many candidates ask कि GD के topics दे दो, lecturate के topics दे दो. So how relevant were it for you? Like कभी आपको मिला है and did you work as per that thing or did you work on frameworks? What was your approach in that?
So to be honest, Akash did mention a few example. My mentors at Cult, they did mention a few example problems of group discussions, but at the same time, I think I was also taught this at Cult, and if I had to tell you this is, I will also tell you the same thing, that it's more important to realize the way you do a GD as opposed to the material that you're supposed to speak in a GD. And where you should actually make use of Cult SSB is to understand how you do a GD. Not कि वहाँ पे क्या बोलना है, क्या टॉपिक आएगा, वो सब आप अपना घर बैठ के यूट्यूब वीडियो पे भी देख सकते हैं. बट जीडी में क्या बोलना है, क्या नहीं बोलना है, कितना बोलना है, कैसे बोलना है, दूसरे को काट के कैसे बोलना है और कब काटना है, नहीं काटना है, वो आपको कल्ट सिखाएगा। एंड वही आपको कल्ट से सीखना भी है। And same thing will be taught to you for PGT also. So I was time and again taught by Neha ki okay, if such and such girl does this, and again I was provided a small this thing of obstacles, a small PPT of obstacles where I would see and tell कि अच्छा अब इस पे plan कैसे रखेंगे, just basic lever systems, those kinds of things were taught to me. And then I would again take out all my doubts with my mentors and ask them कि अगर if some girl says this then what should I say, if some boy says that what should I say, how should I cut, when should I speak, these kinds of doubts will all be लाइक मे थोड़ा सा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आप उन चीज़ों को ज़्यादा पूछें, मटेरियल आप अपने होमवर्क में प्रिपेयर करें, एंड फिर इफ यू हैव एनी डाउट्स अबाउट अ पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन देन यू कैन मे बी कंसल्ट योर दिस थिंग mentors. Like I remember there was some GD topic that I was confused about, and that pertained to like a woman issue only, should women be included in armed forces, etc. I asked about that ki should I say this, and then your mentors will tell you whether or not you should say that. That is the guidance that you should aim to have.
Right, है ना, rightly said Sanjana about this aspect. Last but not the least, है ना, we will cover the first and foremost aspect, क्योंकि now since you got screened in continuously 3 times, so कहीं ना कहीं कैंडिडेट स्क्रीन आउट भी बहुत हो जाते हैं, है ना.
Yeah.
So what was your approach for screening, particularly starting from your OIR, PPDT, narration, perception, जैसा आपको सही लगे.
Okay. So again, screening, the importance of screening cannot be neglected. Screening is very important. First thing that you can do is prepare your OIR in and out. As many reasoning questions as you can. Go on YouTube. There's a very classic, I think, PDF that almost every SSB aspirant has for OIR. वो सब आप prepare करिए. And I'm assuming that anybody who's able to clear AFCAT and anybody who's able to do CDS, those children, those aspirants are already very well prepared for OIR. तो make sure that OIR में कोई कमी नहीं आए. दूसरा, आप SSB PPDT में out of writing the story, narration and discussion, दो चीज़ें आपके हाथ में है. that is writing your story and narration. Discussion हमारे हाथ में नहीं होता है, वो really group dynamics पे depend करता है. तो when you're writing your story, try to make your story a little unique. The way that you'll be able to make it unique, for instance, if it's a very classic photo like लोग mountain पे जा रहे हैं, 4 लोग trekking कर रहे हैं, I'm sure in a group of 10 at least 5 or 6 people will write a story about just simple trekking with friends. The way you will be able to shine is by making a story that is a little unconventional and a little unique. And by that I can maybe you can say that they were a team of geophysicists, and they wanted to understand a little bit about the mineral composition of the rocks, something of that sort, and that will instantly get the attention of the assessor sitting in the room, and also the attention of the other peers that you have in your group. यूनिक स्टोरी बनाइए. उसके लिए भी तरीका यही है कि आप अपने सारे लाइफ इंसिडेंट्स ब्रेनस्टॉर्म करिए, न्यूज़पेपर पढ़िए, एंड अपना वीडियोस देखिए यूट्यूब पे, जिससे अच्छे आइडियाज़ आएँ, नई चीज़ें समझ आएँ, और उससे यूनिक आइडिया मिल जाएगा आपको. नरेशन नरेशन का कोई दूसरा विकल्प नहीं है एक्सेप्ट प्रैक्टिस, प्रैक्टिस, प्रैक्टिस. What I used to do personally, although I pride myself on having a relatively good command on communication, I am telling you, I legit sat down in front of the mirror and I used to narrate my story every like I 3 to 5 times every single day. अब I have reached a stage where अगर कोई मुझसे नींद में भी पूछे ना, तो भी मैं बोल सकती हूँ, ladies from the picture I've perceived 5 characters, 5 female, 2 male, all in the age bracket of 20-25 years. I can narrate it like a parrot. So that is the level that you have to get to, and to be able to do that requires daily practice. Ask your and it should be very concise. So your आप खुद practice कर लो, उसके बाद आके your my mentors at Cult would help me understand कि okay, this is too long of a narration, this is too short, थोड़ा इसको ऐसे करो, ऐसे बोलो, lay emphasis here, lay emphasis there. Those kinds of things I got to know from Cult. But again, the importance of your personal self preparation cannot be, you cannot let go of that. Discussion है ऐसा कि excuse me, discussion is a tricky bit. In discussion, I think everybody should be able to एक बार आपने अच्छी स्टोरी लिख ली और नरेशन लिख ली तो थोड़ा आप वो रिलैक्स हो सकते हो कि ठीक है, बट पूरा रिलैक्स नहीं हो जाना है। डिस्कशन में जितना आप अच्छे तरीके से मतलब पुट अक्रॉस कर सकते हो अपना पॉइंट, वो ज़रूर करो। कभी-कभी ऐसा होता है कि जीटीओ बोलता है कि anybody who's not spoken, please speak. And if you are somebody who has not spoken until then, grab that chance and speak. Don't stay silent over there. At the same time, don't be aggressive. The minute you are aggressive, you'll be screened out. Speak, but in a manner that is befitting of a future officer. Just think of it that way.
Right, rightly pointed and very uniquely pointed about peculiar details which should be taken into consideration. So Sanjana, finally, I would like to, and we all would like to know the moment like of your conference, what exactly happened, and was it too long, was it too short, and what are the things where generally conference में बहुत कम क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं कुछ लोग से और बहुत भर भर के पूछते हैं. So what was your scenario all the three times, which includes one conference out and two recommendation?
Okay, so the time that I was not recommended, that's my very first attempt. I had a very short conference which just involved about details about my stay and if everything was okay and the usual questions. And that's it. That was the conference. In the two attempts that I gave now, and the both of which I was recommended, Army wale board mein bahut I was grilled for my conference. There were a lot of SRTs that were thrown my way, which one of which I remember was that okay, if you're joining the team of like intelligence tomorrow, there's a person that you have along with you, and you are in the desert of Jaisalmer, and you have to, and there's a bomb that is going to explode in Bombay, in the Bombay Exchange, Bombay Stock Exchange at let's say 4 p.m. And right now you guys are in the desert of Jaisalmer and it's 12 p.m. And so how you're gonna get the message across? And that is the challenge. So that was the kind of SRT that, and I was not able to reply to this SRT. So you don't have to really panic and don't panic and say कि यार ये तो मुझसे नहीं हो रहा मैं क्या करूँ अब मैं रिजेक्ट. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. उनका डिसीजन ऑलमोस्ट ऑलरेडी फिक्स हो चुका है. आपके अब कुछ बोल देने से या ना बोल देने से कुछ ज़्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. 19-20 का ही पड़ेगा. तो मेरे को तो मैंने तो गलत आंसर दे दिया SRT में. आई सेड कि सर आई जस्ट fumbled and said something I don't even remember. The right answer that SRT was that if the question said that you and your friend are in a desert of Jaisalmer. So it's very simple that you have to make use of human resource. Um, आप अपने फ्रेंड को बोलिए कि मैं इधर रुकता हूँ, तुम जाओ अपने जो नियरेस्ट हेडक्वार्टर हैं उन पे जाओ, बताओ और आगे मैसेज पहुँचाओ. तो दैट वाज द करेक्ट आंसर एंड आई वाज थिंकिंग ओ वील डू सैटेलाइट कम्युनिकेशन, वील डू रेडार कम्युनिकेशन, ऑल दीज फैंसी थिंग्स. आंसर वाज वेरी सिंपल. तो I honestly I am telling you my blood froze in that conference. But it happens to the best of us and you have to realize कि कुछ नहीं होता अगर बहुत लंबी कॉन्फ्रेंस चल रही है, चलने दो. Another question I was asked was, why do you want to join the armed forces? What is your motivation behind joining it? I gave 3-4 very very solid examples, and very solid reasons why I want to join. And again, a little bit about the intelligence questions. What are the different types of intelligence? And questions that I was not able to answer in my interview were again asked in my conference. So हमेशा अपने इंटरव्यू के आंसर्स जो आप नहीं आंसर कर पाए हैं वो कॉन्फ्रेंस के लिए रेडी रखें क्योंकि वो पूछे जाते हैं, आपको बताने पड़ेंगे. So that was my conference for Army. Long one. It went on for good 15 minutes, 17 minutes. But my conference for the Navy SSB was very short, very, very curt. I was only asked questions about how was my stay, if I would, like to give any suggestions, the usual questions, and that was the end of it. So I have experienced both long and short conferences. And what I would like to convey to everybody here at Cult is that don't use your brain on things which you cannot control, variables which are out of your hand. आपके हाथ में नहीं है कि किसकी कॉन्फ्रेंस लंबी चल रही है, किसकी छोटी चल रही है. So just take it as it comes, although it's easier said than done, but still.
Yes, yes, very detailed way you covered your conference. So Sanjana, last but not the least, है ना? Now you got you when that moment which most of the candidates are waiting for out here. That when you got recommended, what was the feeling for your first recommendation, second recommendation, and since you got an additional feeling of joining letter in your hand, so what was that feeling? Please
I
elaborate on that.
honestly I thought when I got recommended for the army, I thought I would. I thought I would have tears in my eyes, but since you know the anxiety of the conference and the amount that they make you wait after the conference is already so much that you're just relieved to hear any kind of result, positive or negative. I was like, ठीक है भाई, अब कुछ भी बता दो मेरे को, बस घर जाने दो मेरे. So that was the major feeling was definitely relief, and then followed by a lot of like ecstatic emotion in both the cases. I was able to reach out to a lot of my friends, and I know Pallab congratulated me left, right, and center, and a lot of congratulations pouring in from Cult. The entire team at Cult, I must say, and whenever you get recommended, the entire team of Cult is always behind you and always supporting you, and they really, really, really are just as happy as you are, if not more. So genuine warmth and genuine happiness your mentors will feel for you the day and all of you from the audience get recommended. Joining letter was again, I think, an equally ecstatic feeling. Merit is always a cause of concern for male, female, but mostly female candidates. But वो clear हो जाती है तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है, and फिर joining letter हाथ में आ जाता है. It's a speedy process after that, but yeah, one that everybody is certainly going to enjoy.
Like we said, highlighting little bit now since you were also in academy. So few glimpses like what exactly, like how exactly you went to academy and what was that moment while you were entering and those good moments which you can recollect.
Right. So again, it's like I cannot, I understand that nobody in the audience will be able to understand this unless you've actually experienced this. But really, academy is as different from the normal world as you can imagine it to be. वहाँ पे जितना congratulate आपको recommendation पे मिलता है and सब everybody is patting your back and parents are super proud of you. academy जाके वो सब wash out हो जाता है एक ही झटके में, क्योंकि वहाँ पे nobody is congratulating you, everybody is hell bent on making it like like ragdoing you left, right, and center. But again, at the initial days in academy are all about getting to know each other and getting to know who's come from which entry and getting assigned to your squans. There's definitely a tour of the academy. It's called an OTA, at least it's called Academy Darshan, which happens where they're going to let you in on everything that the academy has, all the hilltops, mountain tops, the swimming pool, the auditorium, the classes. The officers of your platoon or your battalion, your company, etc., are going to introduce themselves to you. You'll be meeting your, horse riding saab, your PT ustad, your drill instructor, DI saab, and everybody. Initial days are also busy in the sense that there will be a very elaborate kit issue session that happens where you'll be given all your training equipment, etc. You'll be shown to your cabins, and then academy doesn't allow you to rest, especially I'm experienced with OTA. It doesn't allow you to rest one tiny bit. um, the minute, again, you have to always be on your feet and you're always running, and there's just sweat and tears, that's it, and a little amount of blood. So it's actually blood, sweat, and tears. But yes, nonetheless, you do understand that you, at every point in time, I think, now that I reminisce about it, I can tell you that always you feel that you're a part of something different and you're a part of something big. So that is a very rewarding feeling, and it's good, challenging, but yes, face the challenge.
Rightly pointed, Sanjana, regarding your experience of academy. Last but not the least, what are few tips from your side in general for SSB and for written, and also in terms of mindset which you have been through, and also like what kind of mindset any candidate should have if they start this journey and if they are in the middle of the journey.
Right. Um, so for so again, I'll have to section this answer into a couple of different answers. If you're One thing is that you have to realize that whether or not the journey can be very challenging, and there will be more downs than there are ups, and there'll be more rejections than there will be acceptances, but you will come out of this a different person. I'm not the person who I used to be when I started out, before going to SSB. The short way to SSB is to understand that SSB is looking for people who have an interesting story to tell. So make sure that if you are taking the time of an officer who's a gazetted officer of the country, then you're not wasting their time. you have an interesting story to tell. How will you have an interesting story to tell? Is when you become an interesting person. How do you become an interesting person? Is when in all aspects of life you strive to work harder, and you strive to just be a better version of yourself. That can be maybe enrolling yourself in some new classes, taking up a new hobby, pursuing a new talent, working harder in your job, taking up a new job if you're not already working, taking up a new degree, all these kinds of things. प्रयासरत रहने से ही आई थिंक सक्सेस एसएसबी में सक्सेस अचीव होती है. I have been that person. Another thing is that always have faith in your abilities, and just SSB is not, everybody says this, but I'll have to again repeat it very loud and clear that SSB is not a relative examination. ऐसे नहीं है कि अगर उसकी ज़्यादा अच्छी हो गई तो आपको सिलेक्ट नहीं करेंगे, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. अगर आप अच्छे से करेंगे तो आप 100% सिलेक्ट होंगे, 100%, कोई डाउट ही नहीं है. उनके पास बहुत सारी सीटें हैं जो खाली जाती हैं हर साल. तो अगर आप खुद में इतना अच्छा बन जाते हैं ना, तो फिर किसी की प्रॉब्लम टेंशन लेने की ज़रूरत नहीं कि वो मुझसे अच्छा कर गया या वो मुझसे अच्छा कर गई टाइप, नथिंग लाइक दैट. Your individual performance matters a lot. So just become a more hardworking person, and that should really see you through.
Thank you so much, Sanjana. You shared almost every minute detail, starting from your screening, psych, GTO, interview, SSB experience, in overall.
Yeah.
Thereafter, giving tips, academy life, and more importantly, the mindset which any candidate should possess in the due course of preparation. So now, I guess, there will be many doubts coming up from candidates' side of thing. So guys, the audience poll is now open. So आप अपने hand raise करके एक एक करके questions पूछ सकते हो, or else you can drop your questions or doubts, whatever if you feel so. Any questions anybody have right now? Go ahead, Preeti.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, you can call me Sanjana, Preeti.
Uh, First of all, thank you so much, Sanjana, for sharing such a great experience. My FSB is coming. It is on 11th of December at Dehradun.
Okay.
So basically, I wanted to ask about screening because from last three attempts I'm getting screen out, and before that I was conference out at once. And
Okay.
secondly, I wanted to ask about psychology. Like you mentioned that in TAT you used to make stories related to your life, your past experience,
Yeah.
but we have to show our dynamic nature. We have to be more creative and innovative in those stories. So, should our all the stories related to our experience, or we should add other things as well?
So, first thing about your screening, Preeti, as I mentioned, I can understand that screening is a very tough process. But again, I would encourage you to rely on the first two pillars of screening. First three, in fact, I would say. First is your OIR. Second is writing a story that is slightly unconventional, slightly unique. And second, most importantly, a very very strong narration. कि ऐसा नरेशन करो कि चार लोग इंक्लूडिंग असेसर आपको आप ही को देख रहे हो कि भाई ये क्या बोल गया या ये क्या बोल गई. Those kinds of narration. Discussion, I understand, is not in your hands, especially in a repeaters batch for girls. I can understand girls can really get on each other's heads, and then बहुत कुछ होता है लड़कियों के ग्रुप में, मैं समझती हूँ. बट डिस्कशन में भी आप पोलाइट रहिए, आप हम्बल रहिए, आप अपना चांस अच्छे से लीजिए. बट अगर कोई बोले ही जा रहा है तो उसको बोलने दीजिए, क्योंकि वो स्क्रीन आउट होने वाला है. फिर आपको उसके साथ स्क्रीन आउट नहीं हो जाना है, आपको स्क्रीन इन होना है. इसलिए आप कम बोलिए और थोड़ा कंट्रोल कंस्ट्रेंट रखिए. बट अगेन आई विल स्टिल एडवाइज यू कि नरेशन बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग रखिए अपना. कमिंग टू योर टैट, टैट में यार अंडरस्टैंड दैट हमें दिखाना है अपनी पर्सनैलिटी, अपनी लाइफ की पर्सनैलिटी, हमारे लाइफ के इंसिडेंट्स. बट अगर हमारी लाइफ में हमें लगता है कि कुछ ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स अच्छे, बहुत ज़्यादा एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी नहीं है, तो हमें थोड़ा चटकी लगानी है. हमें मतलब थोड़ा-सा दिखाना है कि नहीं भाई हम तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. तो फॉर दैट यू कैन मेक यूज़ ऑफ स्टोरीज़ फ्रॉम इंटरनेट. यू कैन लॉट ऑफ स्टोरीज़ यू कैन टेक आउट फ्रॉम द न्यूज़पेपर्स, बिकॉज़ जैसे अगर कोई भी एग्रीकल्चर रिलेटेड स्टोरी है, एक एग्ज़ाम्पल दे रही हूँ, अगर कोई भी एग्रीकल्चर रिलेटेड स्टोरी है, आप नेट पे जाओ. मेरे असेसर ने ही, मेरे को कल्ट एसएसबी की मेरी मेंटर ने ही बताया था. देयर इज़ अ वेबसाइट कॉल्ड बेटर इंडिया. बेटर इंडिया में देयर बी लॉट ऑफ स्टोरीज रिलेटेड टू एग्रीकल्चर, न्यूज़ स्निपेट्स। उससे कोई भी निकाल के, कोई भी इंसिडेंट निकाल के आप अपनी स्टोरी में एज इट इज़ यूज़ कर सकते हैं कि भाई उन्होंने एग्रीकल्चर में ड्रिप इरिगेशन का यूज़ किया था, या उन्होंने एग्रीकल्चर में उन्होंने कुछ बायोमास एक्सपेरिमेंट कुछ करा था, नेचुरल एनर्जी यूज़ करी थी। तो ये सारी चीज़ें बहुत ही इनोवेटिव बना देती है स्टोरी को। तो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि स्टोरी जो है वो हमारे लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस से ही इनोवेटिव बन रही हो। अगर बन रही है तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, और नहीं तो फिर हम अपना दिमाग चलाएँगे, हम इंटरनेट की भी सहायता लेंगे और अपनी स्टोरी को इंटरेस्टिंग बनाएँगे। तो यू कैन डू दैट।
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other queries, questions? Please go ahead, Vijay.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi
Hi,
Vijayashree.
Vijayashree. Ma'am, actually, I want to know how you improve your English and you are fluent in English. So, how could you in English? You speak English very well because I am afraid of that. There are some of people's, and how can I speak? And even I can't. Even I forgot to eye contact with them or many things with me.
Right. So again, the short way to improving your English, Vijayashree, is to communicate with somebody is to communicate with somebody in English. So find a friend, or maybe your assessors only or your mentors only at Cult, and whenever you speak with them, just make it a point that you're only speaking in English. How old are you, Vijayashree?
Ma'am, 20.
आप तो सिर्फ 20
आप
ही
तो सिर्फ
साल के,
20
और
ही साल
आपको
के और
कोई
आपको कोई
टेंशन की ज़रूरत
टेंशन।
भी नहीं है। तो you've got ample attempts lying ahead of you, and you don't have to worry about age or any number of attempts as such. So the short way to improving your English is, एक तो आप न्यूज़पेपर पढ़िए तो loudly पढ़िए, that's one. Second, find a person who you can speak with only in English. खुद से बातें करो अगर खुद से कर सकते हो तो, बट इंग्लिश में ही बोलो। अपने असेसर, आपने आपके जो मेंटोर्स हैं कल्ट में, उनसे भी आप इंग्लिश में बोलो। कोई भी फ्रेंड है, कोई भी ऐसा है जिसके साथ आप बात कर सकते हो, इंग्लिश में करो, उससे थोड़ी हेल्प ज़रूर होगी।
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I think there's another person, Akshat, who's raised his hand.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Akshat. Yeah.
Ma'am, my question is कि before coming to Cult SSB, na, before joining this program,
Yeah.
uh, you were facing many conference outs and screen outs. Ma'am, didn't you think कि first question is कि ma'am, did you join any other academy like other coachings for SSB?
Yeah, so I have, prior to this, I had joined AFPA, which is, I think, a fairly well-renowned name in the SSB space. So AFPA, I had actually gone for their 14-day offline program. That was somewhere in 2021. Before actually starting my SSB journey, and I thought that ये करके तो मैं गॉड बन गई हूँ SSB की, और अब मेरा सब कुछ हो जाएगा, बट वैसा नहीं हुआ. As soon as I came out of AFPA and I went for my very first SSB attempt, I got conferenced out. So yeah, I have previously been a part of other programs.
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, how much importance of OIR is there in the SSB?
Fairly important, I would say, because again, a bad OIR score is really going to be detrimental to your SSB performance. अगर थोड़ा सा भी बेटर कर सकते हो तो उसमें OIR का 100, मतलब OIR में तो अच्छा कर ही लो, बाकी जो नरेशन है, स्टोरी राइटिंग है, वो थोड़ा 19-20 भी हो गया तो एटलीस्ट OIR माइट सेव यू, लाइक डोंट कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन OIR.
And like how many questions in OIR you made?
I was able to do, I think, all 60 because there's no negative marking. So I think just uh, try for all of them.
And also, ma'am, like they give us a page, na, ki write your story on it. So I did very mistakes and cut bits on the page. So they will be checking on
That's
it.
that's a bad impression. Yes. Again, one important aspect in all kinds of written material is that you are required to be neat, and
Yes, ma'am.
तो बी वेरी नीट एंड बी वेरी आर्टिकुलेट। अगर आप पूरी स्टोरी नहीं भी लिख पा रहे हो, दैट इज़ 1 सेकंड को वो चलेगा, बट अगर आपने बहुत सारी कटिंग कर रखी है तो वो नहीं चलेगा।
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, in GD, na, like I contradicted on a statement of my friend in my group, na. No, no, we should not go like this. We should go like this. So, uh,
Are you saying in GD or are you saying in any other task?
GD, ma'am, GD. I am screened out, ma'am.
अच्छा, okay, you're talking about the GD of PPDT.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Acha, okay. Yeah, my advice in PPDT is that uh, unless and until there's something absolutely wrong with the logic of the story,
Yes, ma'am.
मतलब अगर कोई दिन को रात बोल रहा है, उतना ज़्यादा डिफरेंस है, उतना ज़्यादा कॉन्ट्रडिक्टरी कुछ बोल रहा है, देन तो यू वेस्ट योर टाइम इन सेइंग थिंग्स कि नहीं नहीं ऐसे करते हैं, नहीं नहीं ऐसे करते हैं। अदर द बेटर अप्रोच इज़ कि यार जो आइडिया चल रहा है उसको आप और बेटर बना दो, एज अपोज टू उसको काटने की बजाय। तो इफ somebody is saying कि भाई, like I said the mountain story, if 10 people are saying कि ट्रैक ट्रैक ट्रैक, तो आपको ये नहीं करना कि नहीं नहीं हम तो जियोफिजिसिस्ट की स्टोरी बनाएंगे, नहीं। फिर आप बोलोगे कि ओके दे कैन गो फॉर अ ट्रैक, बट मे बी दे आर गोइंग फॉर अ यू नो what do you say, maybe they are going for a trek to prepare for a national level competition, or maybe they are going to a trek to some finer aspect you can add to it. Maybe they are going on a trek to represent the state of such and such thing, or maybe they are going on a trek from the ministry of tourism to promote tourism. तो अगर आप ये चीज़ ऐड करोगे ना, तो आपका ग्रुप भी उसको इमीडिएटली एक्सेप्ट कर लेगा, और फिर जो असेसर्स हैं वो सुन भी रहे हैं कि वाह यार इसने तो कुछ नया बोला, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ टूरिज्म। तो
Yes, ma'am.
डोंट काटो एनीबडी एल्सेस पॉइंट जो चल रहा है, स्पेशली फॉर पीपीडीटी। चल रहा है
Yes, ma'am.
चलाने दो, उसको बेटर करने की चीज़ें कुछ ऐड करो,
Yes,
दोज़
ma'am.
थिंग्स।
And one more thing, ma'am, कि जैसे during my PPDT, na, ma'am, I maintained a pace of speaking. Means I was speaking continuously, but and I was moving my head like this and this to all the members of my group.
ओके।
But I wasn't looking into the eyes of them. I was just moving my head because I was feeling the adrenal rush inside me.
या
So,
एज़ वी ऑल डू।
so, what should be I doing at that time, ma'am? And is will it make a bad impact on the assessors?
Honestly speaking, Akshat, like a very personal piece of advice for you, and this is not like one size fits all advice, but personally, I can understand from your interaction that you're not somebody who has a lot of limitation in conversational English. So if you don't have that limit in conversational English, then you can further improve upon it. Just sit in front of the mirror and try modulate voice modulation. Like you said that you speak in a flat tone, even tone. What is stopping you from modulating your voice? What is stopping you from making that eye contact? What is stopping you from actually smiling at people and then saying, and अपनी आवाज़ को थोड़ा ऊंचा करो जहाँ ऊंचा करने की ज़रूरत है, और नीचा करो जहाँ नीचा करने की ज़रूरत है, क्योंकि आपको इंग्लिश बोलने में तो तकलीफ नहीं है, तो आप उसको
Yes,
बेटर
ma'am.
करिए। अगर आप कंटिन्यूसली हर अटेम्प्ट में फ्लैट टोन में ही बोलते रहेंगे तो फिर कुछ इम्प्रूव ही नहीं हो रहा ना,
Yes, ma'am.
तो वो करिए।
That tone key in the sense ki ma'am, like gentleman from the picture shown to us, this in simple tone I was speaking, and I spoke whole the story like in the same tone.
Yeah, that is fine. I am not saying that there is anything wrong with it, but with subsequent attempts, it is your duty that you improve ना with each attempt. तो अब आप
Yes,
अगले
ma'am.
attempt में ये try करो कि okay, hello, like gentlemen from the picture, I have like in a warmer tone or like with a smile on your face,
Yes, ma'am.
making eye contact. थोड़ा सा voice को ऊपर करो, नीचे करो. Maybe when you're saying gentlemen from the picture, be a little firm about it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Next, Saloni ji, please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Saloni.
Ma'am, how to maintain confidence and Josh during SSB after previous rejections also?
Yeah, I think it's a very difficult thing to do, Saloni. Honestly, I can understand that when you're not selected in an SSB, the confidence and जोश is hard to come by. कहाँ से लाएंगे confidence और जोश जब reject हो रहे हैं? Very natural question, but इफ़ यू आर ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड नो लाइक अगर आपने एडवांस में बहुत ज़्यादा प्रिपरेशन कर रखी है स्पेशली फॉर थिंग्स लाइक मे बी योर टैट योर एसआरटी जैसे आपका साइक सॉर्टेड है अगर आपका इंटरव्यू टाइप सॉर्टेड है वो सब है तो मे बी सम अमाउंट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस विल नेचुरली बी इंड्यूस्ड.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
हाँ जी कुलदीप जी प्लीज गो अहेड.
Good evening, ma'am. My question is how we can add more actions in our TED stories.
More actions in your dad stories. So again, Kuldeep, one that's a good question actually. I used to struggle a lot with adding actions in my dad stories. The way that you go about it is that if it's a story that you're taking from your personal life, and even if it's a story that you're taking, let's say, from external sources, try to really break it down into smaller, actions. Like break it down literally, मतलब ऐसा समझो कि एसएसबी को कुछ भी नहीं आता है. ऐसा समझो कि जो साइक वाला जो साइकोलॉजिस्ट है ही इज़ लाइक जस्ट थिंक ऑफ हिम एज अ फूल एंड ही डजंट नो इवन द बेसिक्स. जैसे अगर हम एक रेसिपी बना रहे होते हैं, चाय बना रहे होते हैं, तो हम तो सीधा बोल देंगे कि हमने चाय बना दी. अब हमें समझना है कि जो सामने वाला है साइकोलॉजिस्ट है उसको कुछ भी नहीं आता, तो हम उसको बताएंगे कि नहीं पहले आप पतीला लो, फिर उसमें पानी डालो, फिर उसमें चीनी डालो, शक्कर डालो, ये सब डालो. तो स्टेप बाय स्टेप उसको ब्रेक करिए, हर चीज़ को ब्रेक करिए. ठीक है, एंड दैट विल कम व्हेन यू एक्चुअली डोंट थिंक ऑफ द स्टोरी इन योर हेड. दैट विल कम विद राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस. अगर आप अपने मन में ही स्टोरी सोच लेंगे तो फिर नहीं होगा, एक्शन नहीं आएगा. व्हेन यू राइट इट देन यूल अंडरस्टैंड इट. सो राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
एनी अदर क्वेरीज गाइस, किसी को है पूछना चाहता है? If not, since few candidates have their late night sessions, and I was getting message from admins, since Sanjana was also one of those persons जो रात को 11 बजे sessions लेती थी, right Sanjana, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah. Yeah.
So काफी सारे कैंडिडेट्स हैं और आपने देखा भी है कुछ लोग जा रहे होंगे मीटिंग छोड़ के क्योंकि उनके कंसर्न एडमिन्स सेशंस लेते हैं रात के 9 बजे, कोई 10 बजे. काफी वर्किंग प्रोफेशनल्स भी हैं अभी एज ऑफ नाउ. तो एक्चुअली दे टेक इंस्पिरेशन का है ना टिप्स दैट कि हाँ ऐसे अगर इफ पीपल लाइक यू हैव मेड इट डिस्पाइट वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस, like having work life balance, so that is a great part. They will also make it soon.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I wish किसी की queries नहीं है, and the best part of all is Sanjana will soon join us in Cult SSB as a senior core admin, guiding candidates, and most importantly, she will be taking some sessions as well in the upcoming days. Not very soon, not very quick. And yes, we will be very much excited to have you on board. And there are a lot of new candidates coming up asking multiple amount of doubts with different kind of experiences from different backgrounds, from different arenas of their life. So I wish that you gather every minute details like you covered today. So guys, on behalf of whole Cultus team, thank you Sanjana for giving us your valuable time with us. And I wish सारे candidates को काफी कुछ डिटेल में समझ में आ गया होगा since the session is recorded. So you can check out our Cult SSB YouTube channel for this thing. Last but not the least, I wish you all that you all make it very soon. Join Academy and make us proud. You know, make everyone proud out, and most importantly, the alumni of Cult SSB. So wishing you all the very best. Thank you guys. God bless you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.